Welcome to the stream, everybody. Getting things started today. Hopefully, we can get an audio version using two separate programs to record the audio podcast. So, hopefully, it works out. And here we go.
You're listening to Direct Sports Daily, your source for a fresh new take on all the latest headlines from the world of sports. And now, here's your host, George Bennett.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Today's April 27th, 2017. And today is the first day of the 2017 NFL Draft. So, obviously, it's going to be a big focus on today's show. First, I want to start off by saying I made my first ever mock draft today. It was something I decided to do on a whim at the last minute. I was like, yeah, seems like everybody's getting into this mock draft thing. Why don't I throw my hat into the ring and try it out? So I'm going to go through all my selections that I picked out for the teams, and following the show, I'll post it on the website in blog form. So if you want to read, there's not going to be any explanations behind any of the picks. I'm going to do that now, so maybe I'll drop a link to the video or post the audio and embed that into the blog. But for now, I'm just going to go through my picks. So, without any further ado, let's get things started. The official Direct Sports Daily 2017 NFL mock draft. And I think I'll do this for the NBA too. I've been following enough of college basketball. I think I can get a solid NBA mock draft too. But with the first pick, the 2017 NFL draft, Cleveland Browns, no brainer. You got to take Myles Garrett. I was listening to somebody the other day. It's like, don't Browns this up, man. It's like, Myles Garrett, no brainer first pick. But I don't know. Maybe some people were saying that about Courtney Brown back when the Browns took him back in the day. It was just not. It was just not good. Like, I think that was his name. It was either Courtney Brown or something like that. Yeah, he was bad. He was bad. One of the biggest busts of the 2000 draft. Never really made it in the NFL. Played, looks like 5 seasons for Cleveland. Had a decent number of sacks for him, but he was out of the league pretty quick. Out of the league by 2005. Definitely not something you want to do with your first overall pick. I don't think Myles Garrett's going to be that kind of guy. I don't think he's going to be a Mario Williams either. Jadeveon Clowney, we're even seeing him make some noise nowadays. But when you see guys like LeVar Arrington and Chris Samuels taken immediately after 2 and 3 by the Redskins, the Browns, Courtney Brown was just a terrible pick for them. And when you consider LeVar Arrington went to the same school as Courtney Brown, tough. And they could have had Brian Urlacher, John Abraham, Sean Ellis, so many other linebacker DNs. In fact, this draft was stacked with linebackers and DNs, and they chose the worst of all of them. But hey, I don't think that's gonna happen with Myles Garrett. Now, number 2. This is a very interesting position. I have the 49ers taking Jamal Adams. They got John Lynch in there as the GM nowadays. Former safety himself. I think he has to go with the most talented player on the board, and I think that's Jamal Adams. Obviously, you have a ton of needs if you're the 49ers. I don't think you can go quarterback. I think you're just bringing a quarterback into a death trap if you do. That's a roster that doesn't have a whole lot of talent on it. In fact, I've said it earlier this week. I think the Browns may have more talent on the roster than the 49ers. But given the state of the Niners defense, they had one of the worst run defenses we've ever seen in the history of the NFL last season. Jamal Adams, I think, can help bolster that with his speed and versatility. I think it's just a solid overall pick. Then at number 3, a bit of a safe pick by Chicago here. Solomon Thomas, the defensive end out of Stanford. I got the Bears taking Solomon Thomas. Very versatile guy. Obviously, he's a Stanford guy, so those guys always have their heads on straight. Obviously, highly intelligent individual. You got to be, because one thing that's different about Stanford is to even play football there, you have to just get into the university outside of being a football. They don't make any concessions for athletes at Stanford the way schools like even my own University of Michigan does. So Solomon Thomas, he's a guy who can move inside if you need him to, can play outside, and rush the passer. Just a lot has been made of his versatility. I think he's a solid pick for Chicago, who's clearly trying to rebuild what was once a great defense. At number 4, I don't agree with this pick, but I think it's where Jacksonville's going to go anyway. He might be the second most talented player in this draft. Leonard Fournette. I got Jacksonville taking Leonard Fournette, the running back out of LSU. Ezekiel Elliott, man, he changed the way we've thought about running backs just in his 1 year in the NFL. He was clearly an all-world talent. I think this pick for Jacksonville will ultimately come to bite them. I think more so than anything else. You already took T.J. Yeldon a couple years ago. You still have huge holes on that offensive line. And I don't think you brought in Chris Ivory last year, who had a pretty good year with the Jets before he came over, and he did nothing for your offense. I don't think Leonard Fournette does anything for your offense. Everyone's looking at Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott was made by that Dallas O-line, largely. I think in terms of talent, Leonard Fournette is close to Ezekiel Elliott. It might even be better. But I don't think he can overcome that offensive line in Jacksonville, which they've done some things to this offseason. I don't know if it'll be enough, but there unfortunately for Jacksonville, there is no offensive tackle up this high that they could take, or even a guard. I think if you're Jacksonville, you probably want to look to trade down. Unfortunately, as we go through, a lot of these teams want to trade down, and there's really nobody looking to move up that high. So then that brings us to Tennessee. Tennessee, arguably, they definitely want to trade down. I've heard talks that they want to trade down. But at 5, I don't see anyone looking to move up that high to get anybody. So I have Tennessee taking Marshawn Lattimore out of Ohio State. Best corner in the draft. And if you're the Titans, if you can't get a weapon for Mariota, your line is good. Your backfield's good. You got the quarterback position set. Your biggest need is that wide receiver probably, and I don't think you can reach and take a guy like Mike Williams this early. I think it's too early for Davis, Williams, or Ross at the wide receivers position. So I wonder where did I get Adams? I thought I was like looking down at someone else's. Oh, Jamal Adams. I knew I saw Adams somewhere on this sheet, and that made me say that. but yeah, I think you go Marcus Lattimore or sorry Marshawn Lattimore. I'm not even the only one who's made that mistake. Marcus Lattimore, I think, was that running back that played for South Carolina back in the day. And I heard someone else make that same mistake saying that, and now I've done it. It seems like football players all have, like, similar sounding names nowadays. Like, it's always something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making excuses, but everyone has O.J. Howard, the tight end out of Alabama, going to the Jets, but not me. I think if you're the Jets, tight end is such a luxury pick to be taking a tight end. I don't think you can do it. I got him taking Malik Hooker, the safety out of Ohio State. The Jets. What more is there to say about the Jets? They're terrible. They're absolutely trash, and a lot of people think Todd Bowles is not coaching for his job this year, and if he's not, I don't see why. Quite frankly, but yeah, Malik Hooker is probably the second best safety after Jamal Adams in the draft. Impact player. And that sort of brings us to like the top tier of defensive talent. Moving on to San Diego. San Diego, your offense is pretty much set. If I'm them, I'm probably looking to get one of those project quarterbacks in the second round. Maybe develop him behind a Phillip Rivers because you do need to sort of get an heir apparent out there if you are San Diego. But I think in first round, there's one like top tier defensive player left, and I think they go Jonathan Allen, the defensive end out of Alabama. Much like Solomon Thomas, a guy who can play inside, played a good chunk of his career inside due to injuries to other guys on that Alabama squad, but versatile, athletic, big guy. Can come in, help that defense right away. And you already got Joey Bosa. I think the two of them, your pass rush is set for years to come. Then at 9, I got Cincinnati taking Reuben Foster. I think Cincinnati just goes best player available. And oh, sorry, I skipped 8. I got Carolina taking Mike Williams. Mike Williams, I think, is the best receiver in this draft class. With all due respect to Corey Davis and John Ross, he's more NFL ready, I think, than those two. Played against a higher level of competition than Corey Davis, and he's a guy I think who can step in. And God forbid they ever get Cam Newton some weapons there in Carolina. I know they tried Devin Funchess out, and there's been guys, but you got Kelvin Benjamin there and a bunch of like scrubs basically. Greg Olsen. You throw Mike Williams in there with Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen. I think you finally got a legitimate receiving core for Cam Newton. And like I said before, I got Reuben Foster going to Cincinnati. I think they just take the best player available on the board and go from there. I think Reuben Foster, he's taking a lot of flack for his combine incident and whatnot, but I think he becomes a stalwart on the Cincinnati defense for years to come. I mean, you already got a guy like Vontaze Burfict. When Vontaze Burfict can actually stay on the field, this sort of gives you that insurance in case he can't. But Buffalo, I think they're gonna go best player on the board, and it also I think happens to be at a position in need. I know they have Charles Clay, but The NFL is shifting to more like two tight end sets because tight ends create such mismatches, and OJ Howard is clearly the best tight end in this draft by a long margin. Uh, I think it would be too early to take Corey Davis or John Ross, and you need weapons to put alongside to give Tyrod Taylor. I'm sorry, and to be alongside Sammy Watkins. So I think OJ Howard makes sense if you're Buffalo. Yeah, and I think he's the best player on the board at this point. So Buffalo takes OJ Howard. Um, at 11, Hassan Riddick out of Temple, I think goes to New Orleans. Saints need defense, and they need a lot of it. Hassan Riddick, I think at this point, if you're drafting, that's the best defensive player on the board. You take him, slot him in. I think he's a stalwart of that defense for the next 5 years at least. And then at 12, I think Cleveland takes Mitchell Trubisky out of North Carolina. I think they'll be jumping for joy at the opportunity to do this. I think they need to stand pat at 12 and not take Mitchell Trubisky higher than 12. They're going to be tempted if he makes it past Jacksonville and then he makes it past the Jets, I think, to trade up. Because I don't think San Diego takes him. I don't think I know Tennessee doesn't. Buffalo, I doubt would. I doubt New Orleans can afford to spend that high and pick on a quarterback for the future. So I think if you're Cleveland, the move is to stand pat at 12 and hope Trubisky falls to you, and if not, maybe trade down from 12. But the problem is not a lot of teams are looking to move up. From what I have gathered, from what I've heard, a lot of teams view picks 7 through 20 to be about the same. It's very so. I think there's a few teams that could come in and grab up a Mitchell Trubisky. I know there's talk of Arizona trying to move up ahead of Cleveland at 12 and grab Trubisky, but I think the move if you're Cleveland is just stay at 12. Worst case scenario, you're there at 12. I think you can take another defensive player and build that side of the ball up. But hey, Cleveland is going to do what Cleveland's going to do. I have them taking Mitchell Trubisky at 12, though. Arizona at 13, I have taken Corey Davis. You had to cut Michael Floyd this past season. Larry Fitzgerald's another year older. I know you still have John Brown, who showed flashes of brilliance, but hasn't truly come out. J.J. Nelson, let's be real, he doesn't have the size for the NFL. I know he had a few good games. Jaron Brown, I don't think is ever going to be a star in this league. Corey Davis, I think, has that potential. Obviously, coming out of the same school, Western Michigan, he's going to draw a lot of Antonio Brown comparisons, but I think they have two completely different games. Corey Davis is a lot bigger than Antonio Brown. I don't think he's as good a route runner, but I think he has more of a physicality to his game that Antonio Brown doesn't. So I think Corey Davis is going to be potentially the best wide receiver of this draft. Even though I don't see him going, I see Mike Williams going ahead of him. I could easily see Corey Davis being the best wideout when we're talking about 5-6 years from now. Philadelphia pass rush, go with Derek Barnett. I don't think that's pretty difficult at all. Gonna go kind of quick through the rest of these. I got Indianapolis taking Adoree Jackson, the cornerback out of Southern Cal. Uh, Indy had all sorts of problems in the secondary. They could not keep a cornerback healthy. I would be shocked if they don't go corner in this draft. Got Baltimore taking John Ross. I know they need help on the defensive side of the ball, but losing Steve Smith, who was debatably your best weapon at receiver, that offense needs a playmaker. You need a lot if you're Baltimore, really. Washington, I got taking Garyon Conley. The unfortunate news coming out about him earlier in this week, he probably would have went a lot higher. I think Washington will be willing to take the gamble on him. Tennessee with their second pick, I have them going defense again, bolstering that defense because John Ross and Corey Davis and Mike Williams are all off the board. I have them just shoring up that defense some more, maybe going wide receiver in the second round. But I got them taking UCLA's Tackerist McKinley. Tampa Bay, the Dalvin Cook pick just makes too much sense. And for some reason, I listed Dalvin Cook as going to Florida when he definitely went to Florida State. So I'm just correcting that real quick. Denver, your offensive line, you got to bolster that behind whichever young QB you end up going with, you got to protect them. Ryan Ramczyk, I think that's how you say his name. I've never actually heard a lot of these names said aloud, so forgive me for not knowing. The offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. Rob said it earlier in the week. He's an offensive lineman from Wisconsin, so he must be good. The Detroit Lions, as much as I would like to see them take Jabril Peppers at 21, and how ecstatic I would be to see that, realistically, Charles Harris. Charles Davis already had his career come and go in the NFL. Charles Harris, the defensive end out of Missouri, I got them taking him with the 21st pick. Pairing him alongside Ziggy Ansah. Just, I don't see how you don't want to just bolster the defensive front there with two outstanding pass rushers. I think your biggest issue, if you're the Lions, were in that final regular season game against the Packers, your pass rush was just almost there so many times against Aaron Rodgers, and then he just escapes and makes a huge play on you. I think if you have a guy like Charles Harris, maybe he's that step quicker you need to get to a guy like that. And who knows? Miami, I got them actually taking a local guy, David Njoku out of Miami, the tight end. Another weapon in that offense. They have one of the more underrated receiving corps in the NFL in Miami, with Jarvis Landry leading the way. But I think a solid tight end to put in that system would do wonders for him. Got the Giants taking Cam Robinson. I think they're going to look to find Eli Manning's heir apparent in the later rounds. And I think why not get a head start on protecting that guy. Oakland, I have taken Marlon Humphrey, a good solid corner out of Alabama to pair with Khalil Mack on that defense. I think would do wonders for them. And I think your offense is already set, quite frankly. You got beast mode. You got Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree. I think with I think it's too high to take a guy like Evan Ingram. You obviously don't need offensive line help. That's one of the best O lines in football. You got a couple good young running backs behind Lynch, so no no real point in going offense. And I think at this point, Marlon Humphrey would be the best cornerback, best defensive player in general on the board. Um, so I think yeah, that's the last Alabama player I have going in the first round. So I think total that makes what 5 Alabama players going in the first round. Wow. Uh, I mean, there was a reason they blew through everyone in the regular season, and they had an NFL talent up and down the board, and as you can see, 4 of those players just on the defensive side of the ball alone. But moving on, here's I think what would be a no-brainer pick if you're the Texans. Just go ahead and take Deshaun Watson. I don't think they really need anything other than a quarterback. And they didn't find one in the offseason. I mean, Colin Kaepernick, he's still out there. I think if you brought in a Colin Kaepernick, drafted a Deshaun Watson, I think you have your starter from now and your heir apparent. I think both of those moves just make too much sense for the Texans, a team that I cannot stress enough is a quarterback away from being one of the top teams in the AFC. I think if you were to add Colin Kaepernick and Deshaun Watson to that squad, I think it's just a 3-way match between the Patriots, Texans, and Raiders for AFC supremacy at that point. I think all other 13 teams can forget about it at that point. But, hey. Seattle, I have... They need offensive line help desperately. And I think the ability to find some this late in Forrest Lamp, the offensive guard out of Western Kentucky, that would be great for them. I think that pick just makes too much sense. I keep saying that. Of course, all these picks make sense to me. I'm the one making the mock draft, but I don't agree with all of these. Like, Baltimore probably shouldn't be taking John Ross, but I don't think Jacksonville should be taking Leonard Fournette. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to go with what the team will do over what they should do. At 27, I think it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, and it's going to be very controversial. But I got Kansas City taking Joe Mixon out of Oklahoma, who, by a lot of scouts' estimation, is probably the second or third most talented player in this draft. I don't think we need to get too much into why this is a controversy or what. Here's the thing: he can't go to a place like New York or somewhere like that. He has to go to some place with a smaller media market, and if you're Kansas City, I don't know how much faith you have in Spencer Ware. Obviously, you're not bringing back Jamal Charles and Sharkandrick West. The combination of Ware and West, I don't know how much faith they have in them. A lot of people have Kansas City going quarterback at this spot, like maybe taking a Pat Mahomes or someone like that. But I think this could be a potential landing spot for Joe Mixon, baggage and all. Dallas. We got Dallas is going to look to make a splash. They're going to look to do something big with that defense. I think your offense is almost set to a certain extent. Maybe you add a wide receiver, but I don't think there's any wide receivers to add at this point. But I got Dallas taking T.J. Watt. linebacker out of Wisconsin. Yeah, I think it would be a Jerry Jones. This is the sexy pick for him. I think he's going to enjoy it. Green Bay, I got taking Garrett Bowles, offensive tackle out of Utah. You lost T.J. Lang in the offseason, so you got to find some way to bolster that offensive line. And I think Garrett Bowles, the offensive tackle out of Utah, does that. But I'm actually going to make a change here on the fly. I'm going to actually have them take Christian McCaffrey. Yes, originally I wasn't going to put Christian McCaffrey in the first round, but it all comes down to I don't really like Christian McCaffrey too much. For the same reason I don't like Leonard Fournette. That whole skipping the bowl game thing really just sticks in my craw. I'm trying to figure out how to spell McCaffrey right now. I honestly have no idea how it's spelled, but yeah, I don't see Green Bay passing on Christian McCaffrey if he falls this low. Yeah, Garrett Bowles. He'll probably wait till the second round to hear his name called. But I realize a lot of mock drafts have Christian McCaffrey going 8 to Carolina. I did not like him in that position. I think if you're Carolina, I think you need help with the wide receiver position a lot more than in the backfield. And I'm not on board with this whole we were just coming off running backs don't rarely go in the first round. 1 year can't just change that. One rookie can't just change our entire draft philosophy we were building over all these years. But hey, at 30, I got the Steelers taking Jabril Peppers. I think this is a long enough way for him. I know that there has been talk that Steelers really like Jabril Peppers. They're still running that Dick LeBeau system, even though Dick LeBeau, I think, is with the Titans now. But they're still keeping that whole system, and I think Jabril Peppers could easily be that sort of Troy Polamalu-esque type player and fill that same role. I think he has a similar skill set to a Polamalu. And I think he works out well in that position. At the very worst, he's a great special teamer, as we've talked about on this show enough. Atlanta, obviously, you got one of the historically great offenses. No reason to make a pick on the offensive side of the ball. I got them going Tre'Davious White, the cornerback out of LSU. I think it's a no-brainer. You just go with the best cornerback on the board. Obviously, this is a very deep cornerback class, and you shore up what was one of the league's worst secondaries with a Tre'Davious White pick. And finally, the last pick of the first round, New Orleans. I think they would have easily went Tre'Davious White had Atlanta not just snatched him up right before them. And I could easily see them trading up and getting Tre'Davious White, local guy. They'll probably want to keep him there, but I definitely think they'll go Patrick Mahomes the second and be sort of the heir apparent to a Drew Brees in that system. So there we have it. We'll see what actually shakes down tonight. But that is my mock draft, and the Christian McCaffrey swap in for Garrett Bowles at the last minute. It shows I don't do this. I've never done this before. I think I might, maybe back when I was a teenager and I had all sorts of time on my hands, threw a few of these together, but this is not something I've done before. This is one of the few classes I know enough about to actually be able to do this. But that was fun to sit down and actually do. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing it with the NBA now. But real quick, I gotta. God, I am sick of the NBA playoffs. It's gotten to the point it's really boring me. I mean, what difference does it make? What honest to goodness difference does it make? Who wins any of this? Well, we know it's going to be Cavs Warriors. I mean, the Wizards won last night. Yay. I mean, Dennis Schroeder, this guy looks pretty legit. That's kind of exciting. But other than that, and this Hawks Wizards game, what time did this game start? Because I got an alert saying it was over at 8:30. Was this a 6 o'clock game? 3 p.m. on the West? If you're really putting the game on that early, why bother having it? And then Bulls Celtics. Bulls can't win without Rajon Rondo. It's weird. That'll never not be weird to say. The Bulls just can't get it done without it. Saying anybody can't get it done without Rajon Rondo is always going to be weird to say. But it's the truth. Rondo apparently is going to try to come back for Game 6. I doubt he'll be effective anyway, so he might as well just call it a day. Real quick, want to talk some NHL. The Oilers, they managed to pick up the win last night over the Ducks. The Ducks seem like they are just going all out in an effort to just shut down Connor McDavid. And because of that, it's giving other guys out there an opportunity. Yeah, you didn't see much out of McDavid here because I actually watched a little bit of this game, and there was so much being made of how Kessler is matched up against McDavid, and they're gonna try to have Kessler just shut him down and whatnot. It's meanwhile you got Patrick Eaves, Ryan Getzlaf. All these guys are sort of helping out, trying to do this, but they're not able to shut down the rest of the core of Edmonton, and it's tough. It's you try to shut down the superstar, and then the supporting cast gets you. I was unaware that Edmund had a good enough supporting cast to be able to get this done, but they take the win on the road and take the 1-0 series lead. The Preds win one on the road as well, beating the Blues. Pekka Rinne, 27 saves. I don't know what to make of this series. These are two pretty, I don't know, two teams sort of towards the bottom of the West. Both pulled off huge first-round upsets. It's going to be weird to think one of these teams is going to be in the Western Conference Finals, but PK Subban puts in one here. So, and Rob brought this story to my attention earlier in the week, but ESPN is laying off a ton of their on-air talent. And even as I've been recording this show, apparently, there are more layoffs to come. Andy Katz is being rumored to be laid off. Britt McHenry, who I've never heard of. I assume she's like some sports center anchor or something. But I know they got rid of Jay Crawford, Ed Warder, Len Elmore, a bunch of big name guys. Oh, Britt McHenry is apparently a reporter for them, but apparently she's one of the latest to be laid off. But I think this sort of speaks to the position sports is in general right now. I think it is slowly falling off in terms of just it has way too much competition. Oh my god. I'm just looking at more of this list. If this web page would ever load, Jesus Christ. I don't know what Deadspin runs on their site that like causes it to load up this slowly, but apparently Dallas Braden and Raul Ibanez have been let go. A lot of these people I haven't necessarily heard of, but geez, Roger Cossack. Okay, Deadspin, you had your chance. Jesus, what? It's probably because they run it with like 50 billion ads or something like that, and that's just slowing it down to an absolute crawl. Because like, I know it's not my internet. If it was, like the stream would be lagging more, and I'm looking at the stream. The stream's fine, but it's weird to see ESPN struggling like this. Danny Cannell is another one. Jason Stark, Trent Dilfer. No more Dilfer's dimes. That was always just one of the favorite names I had. I don't know if I mentioned Jason Stark earlier. Here's one. An article that just has everything and it pops up immediately. But Jay Crawford is one I'm gonna remember pretty well. I remember him back in watching Cold Pizza back in the day. Back when it was a lot more fun than it was when it became First Take and all that. Back when it was like Woody Page just acting a fool. But for all these people to lose their jobs so like publicly, I'm surprised to see that. But yeah. But other than that, I'm not sure there's too much else going on. Apparently, the Rockets owner got into it with a referee, like straight Mark Cuban style. But I don't really have much to say about that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Really looking forward to the draft. Hopefully everybody can get out, watch it tonight amongst friends, and throw something at the TV when your team makes a terrible pick, or hopefully like run around the room as soon as your team gets that guy from your favorite school. It's gonna help make a great impact, but we'll see what happens with all these teams. And the draft is always so much fun. I know I'm waiting till 21 is gonna be weird. It always is. Anytime the Lions aren't picking in like the first half hour of the draft, it's always kind of weird. But I'm looking forward to it tonight. Like I said, I'll have that mock draft posted, and it looks like the recording in both areas like held up. So we'll have an audio podcast today. So I want to thank everyone for watching and listening, and I'll see you tomorrow with more Direct Sports Daily.
This has been another episode of Direct Sports Daily. Thanks for listening, and to keep up with the show, follow us on Twitter at the DSD Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio, or visit our website, www.directsportsdaily.com.
Man, we have not talked baseball on this show in a while. I don't think there's anything really going on in baseball.